Okay, everyone, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but I think except for one person, uh, two of you haven't been in yesterday's class. So this is basically a continuation to what we did in yesterday's session. We were discussing the aspects of report writing yesterday, and we had discussed some features of it. Uh, there was some discussion in general, and then I've also discussed about the use of language in report writing. Yeah, so these things we had already discussed yesterday. The video recorded for that is not available right now. You will have to wait for the session to get over entirely. And after that, I think the team will upload that. So if you wish to take a look at it, you can do that later on. Mm, I will continue with what I have charted to work on today. Okay. So, um, yeah, I think Saurabh was also there yesterday. Uh, okay. So, we lift off from where we had left yesterday. I think the last thing we discussed in yesterday's class was wordiness, right? We discussed a bit about the language for a report, and the last part that we discussed for that was wordiness, right? How to avoid writing wordy sentences. So today, so we're closing on that part. Now we're going to look at the structure of a report. This is not like how do I say it's this is not something that is set in stone and iron, right? So the structure of the report is actually quite fluid, right? And I'll explain what I mean by fluid. Every report is going to have a basic structure, right? I think I skipped that slide. Let me just go back on it. Yeah, this one. So most of the
Ma'am, sorry
reports.
to interrupt.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
so I have missed the last session, and I want to just give me a little summary of what you have discussed yesterday, because I have missed
That's
that
what I
session.
know. I know. I know. So that's what I said. You can take a look at the recorded session because mostly the discussion was around the language, and that went on almost for 1.5 hours. So um, I find it a little difficult to summarize it so quickly because we had looked at examples in detail and that. So well, just to say about it in one line or two line, we had looked at what is how reports in general and how professional reports are different from each other, right? So that is one part that we have dealt with about how professional reports, what are the components of a professional report, right? How it is different from the usual reports that we look at. Usual reports mean the newspaper reports, right? Or maybe say something like an FIR or something like a report from a lab, right? Lab in the sense the diagnostics lab, right? Um, so we looked at how that works differently in a professional report. But I think you'll get some gist of it when I discuss the structure of the report as well. So I'm going to not bother too much with explaining on it. And
Okay.
by
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah. And by language, I think most of it stays. If you had been there in the email writing session, we discussed mostly around that. And then uh, the thing that we specifically talked about report was the both the grammatical structure as well as the functional form of the language that we use. So what stood out separately was the use of the third person narrative, use of reported speech, and the use of passive voice. We had quite some discussion on why passive voice is not considered a negative, or it doesn't have any negative connotation as far as professional writing is concerned. Usually, people have a different kind of an opinion of it. People would generally say avoid using passive voice as much as possible in writing. But in professional writing, and particularly report writing, passive voice is something that helps you save yourself from making absolute claims, right? So this is called hedging. And I think when we were discussing wordiness, we also had like a part on hedging. So details of this, including what wordiness means, how sentence length affects your writing, all of those you can find in the recorded session, right? Yesterday we did quite some examples of that. So we can,
Okay, okay.
yeah, this is the gist of what we were doing. We did not take up any activities yesterday, luckily, so most of it we are going to do today. Because structure of the report, after I've discussed on that, I want you to focus on uh, some writing part of the report as well as some activities that would uh, lead you to that. Yeah. So that's what we'll be doing today. But to come back to what we were discussing yesterday, um, basics of report writing, right? So now what do I mean by basics of report writing is if you're not given a structure or framework or if you have not given a template, right? When there is no template available to work on a report, you need to ensure that some of these things are, when you write a report, at least these four things you need to ensure that your report carries, right? Which is the overview, the background, the discussion, and the conclusions, right? Usually, the reports, when you're drafting one, either the organization that's funding it, or if it's a company that you belong to, or if you're a researcher, if you're a scientist, usually your lab will provide you with a framework and skeleton of what all they need, right? The verticals are usually specified based on the organization. But if nothing of the sort is given, right, no template is available, no framework is provided, then what you should be doing is to follow this basic skill, right? So ensure that the report that you write gives an overview. So overview is basically what you need to define the purpose, right? Why you're writing this report? What is it about? What are the important features of the report, right? Which means you're going to give them a quick understanding of what are the main points that you're going to include in the report, right? Or the verticals on which you're going to write. Then the main conclusion, state only the main conclusion. Conclusion is of course like a separate segment by itself. It's also detailed. But when you're giving the overview, you only state whatever the main conclusion of the report is. And of course, state the recommendations. Background, you introduce the subject, provide the reason, same thing, right? Almost like the overview. Overview and background in shorter reports, they mostly overlap. So there's no separate section for overview and background in shorter reports. But in longer reports, they are two different category. And by longer reports, I mean the reports that are almost like a study, right? The ones that run into volumes. It's a proper big longitudinal study. So it's done periodically, and then you submit a report uh, in the given course of time. So if it is that kind of a report that you're presenting, then the overview section and the background is going to be considerably different. So it's a short report, just say 4-5 pages, 5 to 10 pages. Then of course there's a merger between the overview and the background part, because essentially both of them are doing the same thing, right? It's basically the introduction of your report, and by which I mean introducing the purpose for why you're writing this report, and statement of the main features plus the main conclusions plus the recommendations, like a quick summary of sorts. Um, then the second part is of course the discussion, right? Yes, Sonali.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am. Yeah. Continue, please.
So the next part is definitely on the discussion, right? So shorter reports, again, we are not going to give them methods or any other kind of methodological revisions or anything. Those kind of details we are not going to provide for shorter reports. Once you have given the overview and the background, you are immediately going to go to the discussion section, right? So wherein you're going to present the findings, you're going to provide your data, all of this in short, right? And by data, I mean this could also be some factual data that you've collected somewhere. It doesn't have to be statistical figures or tables or anything. Given this is a short report, right? Given it's a short. So this discussion section basically presents your findings and gives a very short evaluation of what you have figured uh, through the data that you have at hand, right? And then of course the conclusion, right? So overview plus background, discussion and conclusion, these three sections at least, when you're doing the shorter reports, these three elements need to be included in it. right? But if you're writing a longer report, right now, this is where we are going to get the detailed structure of the report. If the report you are presenting is a longer one, right, like the one that I mentioned earlier, if it is something that is a part of a longitudinal study, right, a lot of governmental and non-governmental organizations, particularly NGOs, uh, they take up some studies which are usually deep in nature, in the sense it's something that requires them to be on the field for a longer time. They need to collect data for a long time and then analyze and then present their findings, right? So, say for example, someone is studying the contaminant levels, or say the arsenic contaminant levels in groundwater in a certain geographic area in the country, right? They're basically trying to see if the underground water is pure enough to be consumed, right? If it is this kind of a study, then this is not something that you can finish quickly. You just cannot go and have a superficial observation and then come back and write a report on it. Right? It is not like you going to a film set and reporting what you saw there. This requires you to implement some kind of study. You need to employ some equipments. You might have to get permissions. You might have to apply for funding. So this is a longer project of sort. And every project of this sort also requires you to submit the findings and the report. Report the findings basically. So anything of this nature is not going to be a small report. It can and definitely become a book length report. If you take a look at the studies that are conducted by particularly government organizations, right? So you have organizations such as Niti Aayog, or any department of the government for that matter. You go to their website and they'll have a section where called the archives, where you will find the study findings and reports in their area, right? And it could be on food security, it could be on cyber security, it could be on financial planning of the country. It could be on the digital data management, right? So the topics or the areas in which the reports are written in governmental organizations varied, of course, because it deals with uh, vast number of domains and areas, right? So if you're looking for a sample of such reports, you can go to these sites and can download. It's very easily available, and it's free, of course, right? They don't charge you for it. You can download and take a look at it. What do we mean by longitudinal study or longitudinal report? And if you look at it, some of them are too long, 150 pages, 200 pages, because the reason being, this is the product of a longer period of time, of the study that was conducted for a longer period of time. In that kind of report, you definitely cannot follow this structure, right? The one that I discussed with you, the overview, background, discussion, conclusion part. You will have to add more to it, right? Because it's like a full published volume of a work. So if that is the kind of work you've undertaken, if that is what you're required to present at your organization, if that's the nature of the work that they're looking forward to, then you have to deal with it in a different way, right? In that case, you're going to have a full-blown structure. The first part, now everything starting from the title till the preface and acknowledgement section is called the front matter of the report, right? You have three. Broadly, you can classify them into the front matter, the body of the report, and the back matter of the report, right? For longitudinal reports, bigger, voluminous reports. And in the front matter, the first thing that you see is the title, of course, right? There's no need of explaining all of that. I've just put them down so that you have a structure to how to approach this particular section. So title is definitely on a different page, and full title of the report must be present, right? No short forms, no abridged names should be used. Whatever is the name of the full study, of the full report, that needs to be mentioned in this particular page. It should definitely contain the name or names of the authors. Now, if it is a longitudinal study, there are higher possibilities that more than one person is part of the study, right? People could be dealing with different sections of the study. Some people might be looking at the data collection part. Some people might be deciding upon what methods must be used to study this data. what analysis, what analytical tools or instruments must be used to study this data. These different sections, different parts of the study would be handled by different people. And when you compile this work, obviously you will have to credit everyone for their contribution. Hence, it certainly is not compiled under one person's name, but there could be multiple people presenting this, right? So names of the author, full title of the report, then names of the author, and then purpose for. So remember, this is we're talking about the title page. Like, don't get confused. Why does the purpose for which the report is prepared on the title page? This is also important, right? You have to write one line of the reason for why you are writing this report, and this is usually a fragmented sentence, right? This is not like a full sentence. This report is a part of, that kind of full sentence is not required. You give a short abridged one line summary kind of thing of the purpose of the report in the title page. Okay, so full title, names of the author, purpose for which the report is prepared, name of the institution, very, very important, name of the institution for which the report is prepared, right? Do not skip this part. You need to mention the name of the organization, because sometimes, these some of these reports, the findings that you present, they could be either funded or co-funded by different organizations, right? So even if it is a governmental department, sometimes their studies are funded by certain private parties, right? So for example, say if you are working on cyber security, maybe the government of India wants to partner with the big giants in the area who can fund this study, give them either fund the study or share their data, right? All of those possibilities are there. And particularly if a funding is acquired from them to do the study, you need to mention the names of all the institutions that have funded you, right? Because the work that you produce, they equally belong to all of them. It's not one party who's responsible or who would take the ownership of the document, but each of the party that has funded and powered your report, your study, needs to be acknowledged, right? Not just in the acknowledgement section, but in the title page of the report. So name or names of the institutions that for which the report is prepared, and then month and year of the report. Okay, of course. I mean, no prize for guessing that. Definitely, the month and the year of report needs to be mentioned. Okay, uh, this is all on one page. This is all on the first page, right? Right from title to the name of the author's purpose, name of the institution, month and year of the report. All of this on the first page of the. Okay. Now, next page. Next page, you begin with abstract or executive summary. Okay. Now, I want to know from you the difference between abstract and executive summary. Do you understand what's the difference between an abstract? What is an abstract? Let's begin talking about that, and then we'll move on to executive summary. If you've seen, I mean, of course, you would have seen abstract, at least you would have seen, if not executive summary, right? So,
Abstract is like is it called like summary, where
hmm,
we just give a brief description about
hmm,
the whole report or anything we are writing.
hmm. Okay. Where do you usually see abstracts? Like, what kind of works carry abstract? Mostly research papers, right? Research papers are usually the ones that carry abstract. So, what I'm trying to
Right.
say is that there is a difference in the use of the terminology. In If you're writing, something like, if your report is used in business, right? If it's used in business or policy, or if it is some kind of a project proposal, then it is going to carry an executive summary. But if you're writing a research report, right, if it's a research finding that you're trying to present, then usually you use abstract. So this is the difference. Both are reports, both are reports, but then a research report is going to carry abstract, and your other report is going to, anything that is used, particularly in business or policy, is going to carry executive summary. Now, what is the difference? Executive summary, usually, what do they carry?
It is regarding business
Ma'am,
related.
executive
It
summary
is
is a
business
more
related.
broader scope rather than abstract.
In what sense? How does it have a broader scope?
In length, that is more detailed overview.
That is right. Of course, one first difference between both would be abstracts are usually concise, right? They do not exceed more than, say, 100, words. Maximum, if you're the maximum length allowed for an abstract is 300 words, and that too only if you're sending in something for a conference, right? Conferences are a little more liberal with their time, but uh, uh, if it's a research paper or a research report, usually it is 100 to 150 words. Okay. Yes, just give me a moment. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So, yeah, so first thing is about the length, right? You're right. You're right about that. So, somewhere between 150 words, 100 to 150 words for a report, and somewhere from 250 to 300 words would be their length in the case of a conference submission, start submission, right? But executive summary could be as long as 2 pages sometimes, right? So in that sense, yes, its scope is in terms of length. It is yes, it definitely gives you more space. But I want to know a little more about the scope, right? Length is only one aspect of it. So why do you think it is provided that kind of
Ma'am,
length? Yeah.
ma'am, executive summary, I think, is
Ah,
something that is more general and can be understood without referring to the entire document, and also useful to make decision relying on that summary.
so okay. So just a
Ma'am, I
second.
think executive summary contains recommendations which
Hmm.
can be executed.
So
So
all of you are
that's what
basically
I'm
saying that its scope is wider in the sense that it includes points on future actions, right, which are also known as recommendations. So if there
uh,
is anything that is suggestive of what actions should be taken, the futuristic sense, then it's an executive summary, right? What the report means and what action should be taken. So as to deal with the problem statement mentioned in the report is what forms executive summary. Am I right? Am I understanding you right? So, what is the difference between that and abstract? Then? What is an abstract do?
abstract basically avoid recommendation while executive
Hmm.
summary provide
Yeah.
recommendation about
Hmm.
business related and anything like that.
Okay, right. So the exact difference would be there are, like you mentioned, there's recommendations and abstract lacks it. But instead of making any recommendation, what the abstract does is it just reports on what it's found, right? You conducted a study and it reports your findings. It tells you what were found as a part of the study. In executive summary, the scope is even wider. Of course, it tells you what the report means, what is it about, and what are the findings. In addition to that, it also tells you the future actions or recommendations, as you mentioned, right? So, in that sense, its scope is much more than that of an abstract, right? You usually write an executive summary when you are submitting a business report or you're, writing a proposal for a project or a policy, or you're writing some kind of, evaluative reports. Like, for example, there are, there's budget evaluation or appraisal evaluation. Companies have all of these things. Organizational reports is what I mean. They usually contain executive summaries, and also the kind of reports or documents that talk about decision making, right? Whenever there's a decision making process involved in the report that you're presenting, of course, it needs to carry an executive summary, right? But abstract is mostly to communicate the purpose of the study as well as the academic findings that you've had out of it, right? So, in that way, its scope is limited. Okay. In addition to this, is there anything else that you can add to the executive summary part?
It is more result oriented and like
Okay.
persuasive compared to
Okay.
abstract.
Yeah. Okay. It's more persuasive. as opposed to abstract. Okay, we discussed about this persuasive thing yesterday in the class. So, what is persuasion? Again, same thing, action oriented, right? Whenever you present a finding so as to enforce certain action in its favor, right? You call it a persuasive tone or a persuasive approach, right? Um, okay, so about this, is executive summary of the report meant for specialists or specialists? So is it meant for a special audience or is it meant for? Can anyone
I
read
think,
it?
yeah, audiences like executive, stakeholders, and like the board
Ah,
members. They, yeah.
board members. But how about the ones that get published on the website, the ones that we can access? Which one is more accessible? You tell me. Is an abstract of a research paper more accessible, or is it the executive summary of a report that is more accessible to a wider audience?
Abstract.
Abstract is meant for students and researchers.
Not about students. We will break it down into broader classification. Which one requires a more specialized audience? Abstract or executive summary?
Executive needs more specialized audience
Yeah,
because
yeah, ma'am.
it's
Executive summary needs more, like it is more professional.
It is professional. The question is about, do you need to be an expert to read an executive summary? That is what we mean by specialized audience. Specialized audience doesn't mean you need to be holding a designation or position. It simply means if you are someone who requires an expertise to read the document.
Then, ma'am,
See,
abstract.
executive summary is more accessible. It is more accessible to the audience, right? Because which is why it is publicly available, right? If you look at research papers, not everyone can access, right? Only if it is open access that's possible. But okay, we don't get into that aspect of the publication. But research paper is a highly specialized document, right? So even if you have to read and boil it down, you must have some kind of experience, some kind of not some kind of experience. You need to have a good understanding, a deep understanding of what this whole thing is about. Someone who is an ordinary person cannot go and approach a research paper. You need to be specialized in that area to read and understand. But executive summary, I need to work on, say I want to read about the example that I gave you, right? Contaminants in groundwater. I don't have to be an expert in that area, right? And even if it includes specialized studies, the report has to be presented in such a way that it is accessible to more audience. It's a public domain article. Reports are usually public domain, right? They're not confidential. Mostly it is available for public use, right? Unless of course it's your company document and all that. Usually reports are public documents. So in that sense, it's more accessible and it is written for a wider audience to read and understand, as opposed to the research paper. And henceforth, the summary document of both, which is abstract for the research paper and executive summary for the reports, respectively, their language and their approach is also in line with this. Abstract is more condensed. It's more, how do I put it? It's more technical in nature, right? You need to have a technical expertise to read and understand what's something, particularly the abstract, given that it is a concise form of what you're going to read in the research paper. But that's not the case with an executive summary. Its length improves the scope of understanding it better, and the aim of the executive summary is to highlight the important parts of the report that is more public, more accessible, right? So among the two, executive summary, or by that, in the line of that thought, a report is more accessible to people. Okay, accessible in the sense more comprehensible, right? People can understand it better than a research paper and its abstract. Okay. So these are some of the differences. So we've talked about the difference of length. We have talked about the difference of the audience available to both, the language level of both. One requires technical expertise, the other does not, and also in terms of the content that they present. Right. So these are mostly the difference between an abstract and an executive summary, right? So this is again a different page, right? A 1 or 2 page. You can either add a 1 page executive summary for the report, or you can add a 2 page executive summary, depending upon what the scope of your work is, right? How much you require to write there. On the next page, then comes the table of contents, right? Then comes the list of figures and tables. All of them are on separate pages, right? Title, the first page, second taken up by executive, the next 1 or 2 pages executive summary, next page taken up by the table of contents, next page, list of figures and tables, right? If you've used any, borrowed any charts or any diagrams or any maps, any other kind of visual or imagery attachments, all of them needs to be uh, listed under the list of figures and tables. You don't put the map itself there. Of course, that would be in the content in the body of the report, but you need to list them, So you write figure 1, so and so, name of the figure, right? Figure 2, whatever the name of the figure, whatever it presents. Table 1, whatever the table represents. So that list of all the tables, figures, diagrams that you've used in the report, in the compilation of that report needs to be it needs to be included and added in this page, right? Then next page comes preface or acknowledgement. Okay, preface. What is the meaning of the word preface? What is preface? Have you?
Preference,
Sorry.
preference, right?
Yeah, preface.
Okay. So preference means generally what we prefer first. That is our preference. Yeah,
Uh,
priority. Yeah, we can say priority.
Not priority. Preface is what?
Preface
It's like an
introduction
introduction,
of
right?
the book.
It's
Like,
like a short introduction to a book, wherein you tell your audience about what this book is about and why it was written. Basically giving them a premise of why this volume was compiled, or what this is going to be about and why you thought that you should write about it, so on and so forth, right? Preface to something basically means a quick introduction to the work, giving it a uh, you know uh, giving them some kind of reason and the purpose of why this book was written and how it all came about, right? The backstory of how this came. That is preface, right? How about acknowledgement? So, which means your report either carries a preface or it can carry an acknowledgement. Some people write both, right? I have seen people writing both preface. So, preface is usually written sometimes by the editor himself, or you have an invited editor for the particular issue, so they write it. Acknowledgement, of course, is a acknowledgement. What is usually the acknowledgement section?
to
Tell
mean
you.
to accept or admit something
Huh,
which is already there, which is already exist.
Yeah, it's the other name for acknowledgements page is a thank you page, right? You basically list down you if say for example if someone has helped you in the compilation, or if someone has funded your work, or in whatever forms, in whatever capacity people have helped you put this work together, you thank them in that page. So acknowledgement page is basically a thank you page. You thank people who supported the work, right? um, then and it could be anybody, it could be anyone, including your institution, the participants who helped you, undertake the study, your supervisor, your family, your friends, students, anybody, anything could be the case in this case, right? uh, then I'm trying to download something so that I can show you the what I mean by these things. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to download a policy paper as well as a research paper so that it's easy for me to show you what happens.
Ma'am, executive summary is like when any shareholders get about summary of their stock and all like that.
Sorry, come again.
And that this executive summary is like that when we invested in stock market, we get some report. It's like that.
Executive summary. Uh,
Like we get email when we invested in stock and what is a detail of
no,
that.
no, no, no. Those are usually auto-generated, but this one is not exactly like that. They probably serve the same purpose, but the structure of the executive summary for reports could be different. A professional report would carry a more detailed, uh, work. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to get one sample to show you so that this one doesn't have that. Just a minute. State nutrition profile, Himachal Pradesh. Okay. These are just, I'm looking for a longer report. I think we can use this one. Agricultural challenges and policies for the, this is a 2022 report. Let me just show you. I'm going to briefly suspend this. So I'm going to show you a report which carries a preface but not acknowledgement. Okay. So this is by NABARD Research and Policy Series. So this one has both. It's a research and policy series. Just give me a moment. Let me share the screen. Stop sharing. Sharing. Okay. One time. Just to confirm if you're able to see it or not.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
It's visible? Okay. Just a moment. So here, look at this one. So see how it is written. So this obviously has only one author. So that person's name is present. You see the name of the, organization for whom the report is written, right? You have the name, title of the report. You have Ramesh Chand, and I think, yeah, because it's their thing. So they've also included their vision, mission. So because it's a report that they have generated. So they're going to add some additional pages which is applicable to them. And because it's see your this is like a full length full volume book kind of a booklet kind of a publication, which is why they have included all those copyrights and ISBN and everything. That ISBN is because this is published in the book form, right? It's a report but published in the form. Now look at this. uh, Chairman's message. So some of the reports could have all of these things, right? Chairman's message or all of those. Uh, there could be a forward, additional forward, but these are not important sections. You can avoid them. Only if your organization mandates, they say that they prefer to see these things, then you can include that. Okay. But the actual session begins from here. Look at this one. Let's see preface. Could you quickly run through at least the first few lines of this report? And as you're reading, you see if you can, identify some of these things. Can you identify in the preface why the book or the report was written, how the idea developed, what the reader can expect in the report, right? Any clarifications or limitations that's a part of the study, how the work is structured. Now, this is optional. This, of course, you can do later also, but sometimes some people include that part as well. And who is it for, right? All of this detail might be there, right? More or less, can you find it here? Like, look at this. As we all know, investing in research is one of that, and all is fine. Equally important is to communicate research findings to policy. See this one, during one of our meetings with Shri so and so, we had loud thinking if we can commission a few review papers on select themes. Okay, how the idea developed. The second thing that I told you, right? How the idea developed. Okay. Then we wrote to a dozen eminent scholars. Response was overwhelming, shitting, and research. So the motivation is stated, right? Why this was done. Just to the motivation is thus to get a few handles from research that can help effective policy intervention. Why is it written? So how the idea developed and why you wrote the report, both are answered. What the reader can expect, that's also there. The research and policy series is an attempt to get, so this is about what the reader can expect, right? The research and policy series is an attempt to get a glimpse of hardcore research findings in capsule form. So and so, our purpose here, as we communicated, was not just to get literature survey, but to get researchers' heart and their experience, which they gained during their long, passionate innings. Right? Paper is expected to highlight various issues, policy relevance, prescription, and suggestion for future papers on the themes of interest to NABARD. Right? See all of this? So this is what constitutes your, and then see, it also gives you a quick summary of what it, the paper begins by examining severity and extent of various types of challenges. So this is about what all the people can expect in it, right? How the work is structured, etc. Okay. And it also mentions who is it for, intended audience, right? Who is it for? Okay. And then look at the last section. So they don't have a different section for here. They don't have a different section for acknowledgement, a different page for it, but that acknowledgement thing is included within the preface. In beginning the series plan, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to so and so for unstinted support and guidance. We wish to express our sincere thanks to so and it's all. Say, we are grateful to the authors of the series. I also acknowledge the contributions of the officers of Dear NABARD. Thanks are due to Dr. J. Dennis Rajakumar, director, right? You see all of that. So the acknowledgement section basically looks like this, right? If you're avoiding preface and only writing the acknowledgement, you'll only have this section. But this person, they did not want to include a different section on acknowledgement. Instead, along with the preface itself, they've included. That's also possible. That's another structure that we will follow. Okay, is it clear to you? Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So followed by see what they have. So they have the table of contents, right? This is how it is going to look. And then followed by that, you have the list of tables. Take a look at this one as well, right? List of tables, list of figures, right? All list of tables on one page, list of figures on another page. Abbreviations. Okay, this is also this may not be the case in all reports, but if your reports is going to use a lot of them, for example, you have referred to say other reports which are abbreviated in some form, or you're naming organizations that do not have universal acceptance. Maybe only in India, like for example, something like TIFR, right? So TIFR, people might know it here, or even say something like IIT, right? People here might know about it, but if you're writing it for a wider audience, it's always good to provide an abbreviation page so that if there are people who don't know what it is, then they can refer to this page, and right. Then comes executive summary. Okay, so you can take a look at model documents like this to understand what executive summary is about and what preface is about. We already discussed executive summary, so I'm not going to go over it again. But this is how it is, right? Look at the executive summary. Almost 2 to 3 pages, 3, 4. It could be even longer than that, right? This one has, I think, 4, 5, 6 pages of executive summary. So this is a longer report. This is a very long report. That is why they have a very long section on executive summary. So at least 2 pages you would have in executive summary, and some people, based on what they're writing about, they might have a longer section of executive summary. Okay, so this is not an ordinary section. To keep that in mind, right? Okay. So I'll go back to the slide then. I think this part is clear to you, right? Okay. So we'll move on to the other part then, if this part is clear. Let's go to the body of the report, right? So some people place executive summary in the front matter. Some people would want to keep it as a part of the body of the report. It really doesn't matter. You could either keep it in the front matter. You could say it's the introductory part, given it is the introduction part. Some people would want to keep it in the front matter. But wherever you keep it, what matters more is, what goes into the making of it, right? So executive summary, we already discussed. I'm going to skip that and come to the introduction section, right? Now, what and how is an executive summary different from an introduction? We all know what introduction is, but uh, how does the introduction and executive summary differ from each other? No?
Only thing I understood the
Hmm.
difference. Executive summary has all components, whole gist,
Hmm.
but introduction
Hmm.
lies only the starting point of the
Hmm.
report or project.
Correct. You're right. That is the exact difference between both of them, right? So executive summary is a summary. It's going to carry the whole of it's going to summarize the whole of the document that you're going to read. But introduction is not going to summarize the whole document. It is only going to prepare the reader to understand the topic, the context of the study, and the purpose of the document. That's it, right? They basically just tell you that section tells the reader what they're about to read. That's all. It doesn't tell you anything about the results. It doesn't tell you anything about the recommendations. Nothing. Just tells you what you're going to read. That's it, right? Introduces the topic and gives the premise and the background to it. That's it, right? It does not tell you anything more about it. However, executive summary is going to give you like a summary, like the name suggests, right? It's going to summarize the whole document and give you a gist of what the whole document is about, as opposed to an introduction, right? So, introduction needs to mention when you're writing the introduction for the report. What all do you need to mention? You need to, of course, introduce your topic. You need to write the purpose of the document, the context in which the study or the report is being presented. That needs to be a part of it. And also outline your approach. What approach would you take? Right? Like, for example, say if you are planning to study um, learning outcomes in uh, second language, for example, right? You're trying to understand uh, what are the learning outcomes in primary school students when they are learning a second language other than their mother tongue. So there are multiple approaches possible to it. You can either take an approach that is monolingual. So basically, you're going to go to a classroom in which only the target language is used. So the teacher's approach is that if I'm going to teach, if your second language that you're going to learn is English, then the teacher takes the approach of monolingualism, wherein she means I'm only going to use English in this class, right? So this is my target language. I want my students to learn English better, so I'll only speak and talk and behave with them in English, right? All their activities are going to be around English. They will only learn and read and write in English. No other language would be allowed in this class to improve my students' English learning outcomes. But if my approach is, for example, multilingual, then I would say, no, I'm going to use other languages as well. So my target is not just English, but I'm also going to, in the process of teaching them English, I'm going to ensure that they are not going to be deprived of their mother tongue or other first languages. I want them to have equal proficiency in all the three or all the four, whatever the number of languages are. Along with English, I want their learning outcomes in the other languages also to improve. Right. So this is a multilingual approach. The first one is a monolingual approach. So these kind of this is what you mean by outlining the approach. Tell the audience that this is going to be my approach. I'm going to take a monolingual approach. I'm going to take a multilingual approach. Right. All this section comes in the introduction part. Then followed by that, you have the method and methodology. Now, method or methods, right? Sometimes you use more than one method to arrive at your findings. So you list all those methods, whatever you have used. If you have used qualitative methods, for example, if you have done interviews and if you have gone to the class and made classroom observations, if you've done content analysis, like looking at the notebooks of the students or the textbooks or the materials that they have studied, then this all becomes a part of what we call as qualitative analysis, right? Qualitative methods. Classroom observation is a qualitative method. Field observation is a qualitative method, right? Interviewing the participants of the research is a, semi-structured or structured interviews wherein you either you so structured means you already have a set of questions and you also have the answers. You only want the people to tick or choose the options that you have as answers. In semi-structured, you will have few options, but you'll also let the participant give their version, their story as well. So that you design obviously as a part of your study. So this is also part of the qualitative analysis, structured, semi-structured interviews. You have focus group discussions. You form a group of teachers and another group of students, and then you interview them separately. You give them tasks. This is focus group discussions, right? These are all part of qualitative analysis. Now, once you have the data, you think that you want to run some quantitative test on it, right? So you either run a t-test or you run an ANOVA test, or so this is usually the what we do in qualitative mixed approach, right? So, or you do a regression analysis, right? So this becomes the methods that you use to study the data, right? So that part goes into the explanation of these methods and the reason why you chose one test or one method over the other. That becomes a part in the method and methodology. You explain it entirely, right? In this section, you also would talk a little bit about your participants, like who were the research instruments, where was the study conducted, what was the geography, who were the people who were part of the study, right? What were their profile, what was the context, all of those things will also become a part of it. And then you talk about the methods you employ, right? Both qualitative, there was only qualitative, then you write about that. If you used both, then you will write about both quantitative and qualitative. Specifically, which methods among each of the qualitative and quantitative you used, all of those description goes into the methodology section. Okay. And then, of course, no prize for guessing. The next part is the results and findings. Now, be careful about the results and findings and the discussion section, because a lot of people, what they do is they mix both of them together, right? So while you're presenting the results, you also give the discussion. That is not allowed. Results, findings, and discussion are two different sections in a report. So in the results and findings, you only present the findings. Okay, present the findings in the form of statistical data, figures, tables, graphs, or any visual methods that's possible. Right? You only present whatever you're doing, you're only showing them the data, right? Only showing the results. That this is the test that I ran, this is the method that I used, and these are the results that I got. Okay. So that method section, you write about the methods, and then in the results section, you write about the findings of that, right? Only in the next section, which is the discussion part, will you interpret this results. In the results and findings section, you will simply present. You're not going to interpret anything yet, right? That interpretation part comes in the discussion section. You look at the data, look at the findings and results you have, and then explain or interpret what that result means, right? You have the findings, you have a result from whatever study you conducted, and in this section, you explain what this data means to you or what this result tells you. You interpret what it means, right? So you analyze, you interpret, you evaluate the data, you note the trend that it shows, you compare the results with the theory that you have used, right? All of that thing happens in the discussion section. And this has to be done separately from the results and finding part. Do not club both of the section together, right? They have to be written separately. And once the discussion is done, then you can move on to the conclusions section where you're going to give what do you do? Brief summary of you begin with giving a brief summary of the findings, right? Whatever findings you had, you'll begin with that. Give a brief summary of whatever your finding was. Then state the main conclusion first, right? So where does that come from? From the discussion section, right? You have now interpreted the result. You have some interpretations and evaluations with you. Whatever was the main conclusion in the evaluation section, that goes first. So which means you're going to write it in the descending order of its importance, right? So the first most important thing goes first, then the second important one, then the third important one. And if there are any additional findings, some additional implications. Maybe, you don't have like a proper, maybe the data you have doesn't properly indicate anything of that sorts, but it implies it can move into that direction in the future studies. If you have figured something like that, as an additional finding, then you can report it at the end. Okay. So that is how the conclusion needs to be structured. First, give a brief summary of the findings, and then, whatever you have evaluated and interpreted in the discussion session, that you can use in the conclusion, with the main conclusion being stated first and rest in the descending. And then, of course, the final part in the body of the report, which is the recommendations section. Okay. So recommendations, of course, now you have the conclusion, you have everything with you. So what does it know? So what now? What should be done? We have these results, we have these evaluations. So what should be done next? Now, what do you suggest? What are your suggestions? What is your future course of actions? Right? All of those gets included in the recommendation section separately. Okay, these are all different sections. Now, this is the body of the report. Now, each of the section doesn't have to be on a separate page, right? So executive summary, introduction, methodology, results, findings, discussion, conclusions. They don't have to be on a separate page. They just have to be, they can be in the running order. It can, move continuously into the running page, but the sections must be very clearly separated. Okay. What should be on a different page is what comes next. Okay. After the recommendations part, the appendices or annexes, right? This should be on a different page. If you have anything, something, what is an appendix or an annex? This is basically the information that is not immediately relevant to what you have written in the report, but, something that you think can contribute to better understanding of, say, some concepts or some theory or some frameworks that you have discussed in the report, right? If you think that certain books or certain articles or some chapters from a book or some newspaper report, some other report that you use to study this current report, if you think there are some of them additionally which can serve some details or give some broader understanding or better understanding of what the report has dealt with, all of those can be listed in this section, right? Understand, this is not an important section. This is an optional section. You don't have to include it necessarily in a report. But if you have documents which you think will serve the purpose of making the understanding better and you want to list them down, then you can use the appendix section to write them down. Okay. Then another thing, glossary. Glossary is also not an important thing. It's also optional. Glossary is usually included if you've used, say, terms, especially if you're using terms from your language or the register of your language. And if you think that it is not accessible to other people, they may not know the meaning of the word used, or even if it is from English, say you used a term which is not very common or popular in the domain, and you think people may not understand what it is. Maybe, that term only had an isolated use somewhere in some article. It's not a popular thing. Not everybody understands it. It was found only in one of those rare articles or one of those anecdotal website that you visited while you were researching. You found it interesting and you used it in your report, but you think that, the chances are lesser that people might have visited that website or haven't seen this word. Then you would like to give an explanation of what it means, right? So that you can include in the glossary section. This is also not important. It's an optional thing. If you've used words like that, then you can include their meanings separately on a glossary page. But what is absolutely important is the next section, bibliography. This is not optional. You definitely have to include a bibliography. Bibliography as well as citation, right? So either use a bibliography, but I think most importantly, people use citation. So you cite all the books and the articles and journals, report, newspapers, research papers, book chapters, audio, video, any form of resources that you've used to study or compile the document has to be cited in appropriate citation style, right? Either the APA style or the MLA style or the Chicago style. You choose what you want to, but they all should be cited clearly, right? So this is the bibliography section, and this is important. You cannot skip this in a professional report. Then the index, what is it? It's an alphabetical list of all the major topics, subtopics discussed in a report, citing page numbers in the report where the reader can find those discussions, right? This is again not absolutely important. If you think it's a very long document, very voluminous document, people may not want to sit and read it entirely. This is helpful usually when people only want to read only a particular section of your report. They don't want to read it in entirety, but they only want to read, a certain topic, a particular subsection or something. Okay, only on a certain topic. So if that is the case, if you include an index at the end of your report, it's easy for them. The index will have the topic, and it will also indicate the page number on which this will, where people can find it. So their life becomes easier. This is for people who don't have the intention to read it in entirety. They don't want your report entirely. They have info. They want to have information on only a certain thing. So this becomes easy for them. Again, this is not, like I told you, it's optional, right? You don't have to include. Usually index and all you find in reports that are really huge, like, 300, 500 page long reports, usually they carry index. Okay. So this, from all of this together, is referred to as the back matter of the report, right? So any professional report in its entirety is going to have this structure, okay, beginning with the title, executive summary, table of contents, list of figures, tables, refers acknowledgement, then every section under the body part, right? And then the back matter, essentially ending with a bibliography. Okay. This is the structure of a professional report. Anything that is done on a serious, professional, longitudinal project or study carries usually this structure. Okay. So that's all on the structure of the report. Now, any questions? Because I want to share the screen with you for the exercises. Yesterday we did not get enough time for that, so today I want to spend some time making you do at least 2 or 3 of them, if not the whole. Any questions meanwhile? No? Okay, so can I then share the other screen with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a moment. I'll share the link with you because I wanted to work on that. Give me a moment. I'll share the link in under a minute. Once you get the link, please sign into that page. Practice mode, student based. Uh, I'm going to leave the link in your chat, please. Yeah, it's there in the chat now. You can take a look at it. Please join in through that link. Those of you who have joined, can you see the tabs there? Do you see the first one? Question proposal for location of new facilities in Scotland. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so this is on language. We are going to, it's not like a big thing. It's a very actually quite an elementary, not elementary, maybe an intermediate level exercise. Uh, just read through it quickly and see if you're able to fill in the blanks. It's quite easy, actually, very easy. Yeah.
Ma'am, we have to fill the words
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yes, yes, yes. There's a blank there. I think total of 6 blanks there. What did you write for the first one? The purpose of this proposal is,
Two.
Two.
yeah, to compare Edinburgh and Glasgow as possible locations for BioBox new R&D facility in Scotland, and to recommend
Which
which city we should choose. Right? Recommend which city we should choose. Uh, Usually, what I have seen is people would write answers like to recommend what city we should choose. Okay, so do not use what, which city. If you're talking about objects, usually it needs to be, and particularly when you're making a choice, it's be which city, not what city we should choose. Right? What is usually a question when you uh, need to answer mostly about the object, which is a nominal object. Right? Which city we should choose should be the right answer. Then,
Ma'am,
although
ma'am, nominal object means simple object.
nominal object means something that is a noun. Okay, nominal stands for noun and pronoun
Oh,
both.
okay,
ma'am,
okay.
Okay, yes.
in second option, fill in the blanks. Can we use
Huh.
the the city we
And
should?
to recommend the city, no, because see, recommend that city we should choose, right? We're talking about a choice. So if you want to implement it properly, then you will have to use the word which. The is not very useful. Which city we should choose, because it directly tells you that they're doing a comparison between both, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
which city we should choose? Okay, workforce. Although Glasgow has three dash
The
large,
The largest.
the largest, right? The largest number of students in England, sorry, Scotland. I suggest that we should recruit people who are already employed in the sector, and many of the best scientists are in the Edinburgh region. Property prices appear to be lower in Glasgow. However, it would be a good idea to try to find suitable premises in Edinburgh area. Dash, it
That
contains a science triangle.
as
And
it contains as
Because
Uh, as
ends. End होगा मैम. End.
and and I don't think it's a you and is not the right answer. You cannot use that. But you can certainly use as, yes, you can say as it contains a science triangle with purpose built laboratories because it contains, that's also fine. Any other answers? Any other answers? Okay, so we go by as or because, right? One of these answers should be okay. Then, Glasgow has a dynamic and exciting lifestyle with many cultural events. On the other hand, Edinburgh is dash of the cities with the highest quality of the life in the UK.
one of the
one.
city.
One of the
One of the
cities.
cities.
One of the cities with the highest quality of life in the UK. Right. Then, I strongly recommend that we choose Edinburgh. Dash the reasons given above.
Because
What? What?
Because of
Okay, one
For.
word. If you're only supposed to
For.
use one word,
For
for,
the
right?
reason, ma'am.
For the
For.
reasons given above. Correct. For the reasons given above. For the reasons given above. Okay, so it's a very simple activity in language. So your observation should be that there's a lot of use of the two infinitive forms to compare, to retire. There are a lot of two infinitive forms, and you'll also see the ing forms, which I think it comes in a later activity. We'll see there.
having
This
seven
one,
blanks because is wrong.
which one?
In seventh blanks, we can't use
We
because.
don't have a seventh blank. Where is the seventh blank?
Ma'am, can we submit in a single response all these 6 answer?
Did not hear you well. No, but before that, which seventh blank are you talking about?
I think six.
I strongly
Shit.
recommend.
That's a sixth blank. No, because if you have to write, you will have to write because of the reasons given above. Try avoid using, this is what we were discussing in yesterday's class, right? Keep it economical. If one word would do, then why do you want to use two words instead of it, right? If for is doing the work, then why unnecessarily use because and then off along with it? One of the major things in professional writing is concise writing, right? If you can use one word, then use one. Don't go for two, three instead of for the reasons. Okay, and what was the other person's question after that? Someone was asking something.
Yes, ma'am. I was
No.
asking that can we submit in single response all these 6 answer?
In single response.
I mean just in single page that is given for us. I have submitted actually if you can see. Um,
I can see the answers, but I don't still get your question.
can we submit in single page all these answer?
Yeah, that you don't worry about. There's an auto submission enabled for this. You don't have to do anything. If you've given the answers, it get automatically submitted. No problem.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, we go to the next one. Same thing. I think this also tests you for. It says C. That's because this originally had options, but I haven't included that. I want you to answer it on your own. So, would you read through and tell me how would you fill up all the blanks? Read it slowly. Write down your answers, and then we can discuss. 3 minutes. I don't think it will take more than that. 10 blanks. Please read it entirely and answer.
Which one, ma'am?
Can you not see the question? Is it not accessible?
It's the next slide, brother.
Slide number 2 and 3 and 4 and right. I am unable to see the questions, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Not able to
Nick,
see the.
bottom taskbar, near the taskbar. Slide 2 of 6, slide 3 of 6.
But I am able to see.
That's what you have to execute it that way. I have put it on the student mode. If I turn it into instructor mode, the problem is if you want to solve it later on, it becomes difficult. But if you cannot access, I'll turn it back to the instructor page mode so that when I change my screen, you can see. I think that's better. Let me just change it. Yeah, can you see it now, Saurav and Sonali?
No, ma'am.
How
No,
come
ma'am.
you're still
Maybe
not
this
able to
time
see?
slide is also not visible. I mean, just we are unable to slide or scroll left, right.
Just rejoin. Use the link and rejoin.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, it's not necessary to submit answers or it's mandatory.
No, no, no,
Ma'am,
no.
what is
See,
question, ma'am?
whenever you write, it gets automatically submitted. You don't have to bother about that.
Ma'am, question not visible. Week 9.
Where are these people? Lakshya and Gurkirat, are you still able to see the questions?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. Proposal for adding to our product range, purpose, our current product range, and all.
Correct. How about you guys now, Saurav and Sonali? Are you able to see it?
No, ma'am.
I don't know how to help you guys. Uh, so
Yes,
you
ma'am.
rejoined.
Ma'am, we have joined, but actually we are unable to scroll left or right by slide. Actually, option is disabled.
No, but
We don't
are you
want.
able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
You are not able to move because it's now on instructor page. That's why.
Okay, okay,
You
ma'am.
can you see the proposal for adding to our product range? Is that
Yes,
question
ma'am. Yes,
visible to
yes,
you? Yeah,
ma'am.
then just
Slide
work
number
on it.
3.
That's all. That's all. Just work on that.
Okay, ma'am.
The aim of this proposal is to suggest new products we could add to our existing product range and to dash ways in which products could be developed. Company produces accounting software, small retail outlets, purpose of which is to provide managers of small businesses.
Done, ma'am.
Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So let's look at this. This is again not very difficult, but then if you scramble for words, then it shouldn't be difficult. Actually, professional writing, we keep the language simple. You just need to know what exactly fits there, right? There could be more than one ways of writing it, but the meaning shouldn't be should be any different from the word that we use. So the aim of this proposal is to suggest new products we could add to our existing product range and to dash ways in which products could
Identify.
identify or explore or outline, right? Anything that means along that line can be added. Any other
Suggest,
answers that you've had? Sorry?
suggest,
Find,
suggest.
find.
Find ways in which, okay, suggest ways, okay, that also works. Correct. Then at the moment, our company produces accounting software for small retail outlets, the purpose of which is to take managers of small businesses, dash the process of
Through the
producing.
process of
Through
Sorry,
through the process.
through the process.
to take the managers of small business through the process of producing legally acceptable amounts, accounts step by step, while at the same time. No, it has to be an active verb, not a
In the
just to
process.
take managers of small businesses. No. I'm saying you have to use a verb, not a preposition there. So, so something like, which is to take managers of small businesses, simplify, streamline, something along that line, simplify the process of producing legally acceptable. Read the sentence entirely. Don't just read that one chunk and stretch, right? Then you'll get
Guide.
lost. Guide the process of small businesses, guide the processes of processing, no. Producing, no. Simplify should be better. Streamline should be better. Read the whole sentence, a long sentence, I know, then you'll get better answers. Okay, next one. While we know from the feedback that we are achieving high levels of customer dash with our existing products.
Satisfaction.
Yes, correct. Customer satisfaction with our existing products. We have to recognize that we operate in a dynamic and swiftly changing market. The best answer would be satisfaction. Furthermore,
Ma'am, I wrote experience.
no, not experience. If you read that sentence entirely, satisfaction is the more suitable answer. Furthermore, more extensive market research among our clients has uncovered a dash for compatible software to perform stock control and ordering functions.
Demand.
Demand, yes, correct. Demand should be the best fitting word there, demand. Then our programming department dash employs 6 systems engineers and produces regular updates for existing products. While
Currently.
dash them,
Currently, ma'am.
Currently, yes, currently employs 6 systems, while dash them to suit individual clients.
Adapting.
Adapts. The word is right, but you need to use it grammatically.
Adapts.
Adapts them to suit individual clients. Although 2 engineers could be assigned to the development of the new programs, it would probably be necessary to recruit 2 further engineers for the new project team. Thus, in turn, would give rise to higher overheads and other costs, particularly for salaries and equipment. I envisage that the project will take 18 months, but at the end of the period, it will generate profits which will justify.
New projects.
What project is this? Go to the first purpose, which the products could be developed, right? It's a development project. Development project will take 18 months. Okay?
Whole project.
The whole project, okay. Whole project also works. Whole project, the entire project, right? Anything you can write. I envisage that the whole project, the entire project will take 18 months, but at the end of the period will generate profits which will justify the
Investments.
investments. Yes, correct. Investments. Okay. Apart from the recruitment requirements mentioned above, the only extra cost I have identified in connection with this project is a requirement for extra office dash
Space.
office space to accommodate the project team. Since the new products are being developed in response to demand from our existing clients, I do not foresee extra marketing costs at this stage. I therefore recommend that we dash with the
Proceed.
proceed with this project as
Start कह
soon as.
सकते हैं.
No, proceed. Start with the project is a very it's an informal, not informal, a very less formal way of putting it, right? Proceed is more formal, more synthetic in nature. Proceed with this project as soon as
Go ahead.
is convenient.
Did he say?
Go ahead is a phrasal verb. I think we had a discussion on this yesterday. Try
Yes,
and
ma'am.
avoid phrasal
Yes.
verbs as much as possible. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now can
Next
you
one
repeat
is
second one? Second is what's more preferable? Preferred there.
which one?
Ma'am,
Sorry.
just go back previous
Second.
slide. I am about to submit the answer. Just submitting.
No, sorry. What was the other question? I did not get your question.
Ma'am, second blanks.
Ah.
I want
Simplify.
answer.
Simplify was the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. We'll move on. We'll go to this one we'll skip because this is also a similar exercise. I want you to do this one. Write a short report, 120 to 140 words, because we're already it's 37. And I would want you to take at least next 15-20 minutes to do this one report, right? So you have a chart on the screen. Interpret the chart, right? And you need to somewhere between 100 to 120 should also work. You don't have to. So one thing you can do in the class, this question you can do in the class, and then there's a second one that you can, if you prefer, you may do it as, kind of a home assignment. You don't have to submit it, but if you wish to, you can take that question as a home assignment. But this one you do in the class. Okay. So what are the headers that you're going to use when you're writing? What do you think are the possible headers you can use here? It's going to be a short report. Of course, we cannot use this time to write a long one. We have to. So short report, usually what do we do? I told you there are 4 subparts to it, right? So let me leave that in the chat to you. Maybe you've forgotten already by now. So, or maybe let me share the screen with that. Yes, exactly. Correct. Instead of me writing, I think this should do the job. This one, right? Overview, background, discussion, conclusion. So take notes for each of this and you can compile the report. And while you're doing that, I will also type out few things in the chat for you because I don't want to waste your time in writing. So instead of me discussing it with you, I think I'll leave a written note for you in the chat so that you can take a look at it in case you wish to cross check it with what you have written. So you keep writing. I'll leave my notes in the chat. think most of you have got the meaning of the chart correct. That's a good thing.
Done, ma'am.
Hmm. Too quick.
Ma'am, at 4 p.m. there is one more class.
Yes, yes, I know.
Okay. Ma'am,
Yes.
in today's class you use the word, I think, zest. What is the meaning of that?
Just,
I think maybe I'm
I think it
pronouncing
was just
wrong.
not just.
Yes.
Just
Gist is
is
summary.
GIST, gist. Gist means the
Yes,
main
ma'am.
idea or essence of some main idea, the central idea. So that's the gist of the affair means the main part of the affair. Okay.
And there's a one word, gist, Zest.
Sorry, what is it?
There is a one more word I think in vocab, Zest, zest.
That is different. Zest is different from gist. Zest means joy or full of energy or enthusiasm. That's what it means. This is different. This
Okay.
is essence or the main part. Uh, zest means eagerness or enthusiasm, joyful enthusiasm. That's what zest means. Okay. So conclusion is what? Okay. So moved to more customer management. Logistics, accounting. Evolve, become more customer management service. Yes. Because
Ma'am, done.
yeah. Okay. If you're done, I just want you to take a look at this. Some of the things that I've left for you in the chat, right? So if more or less if it fits what you see in this one, like overview, what does the chart say? Changes in market sales, right? That's what basically the chart is about. So it talks about changes in the market sales of the software, right? Of the software over a period of 10-year period. So there's a shift in the market clearly, and accounting from the accounting software to people used to basically initially purchase the accounting software, but now it has moved to the CRM, the customer relations management, right? And payroll and shipment tracking, all the three. This is showing steady growth, right? This is the overview. Background basically in the 10 years, last 10 years, half of the total says the of the in the software was dominated by the accounting software, and everything else, the stock control marginal, stock control software, they were marginal, right? The growth was marginal for them. Then payroll, CRM, that is customer relations management, shipment tracking. They all had relatively small shares in all of. There's some typo there. Sorry, meant small shares, relatively small shares. Right. This was the background. Then, if you study the chart, you see under the discussion, and make sure if you, when you're writing things in discussion, and particularly when you have charts and figures, and if there's some statistical data that you can draw from the, that's why a graph is given, right? So you should be able to draw in some statistics and figures and some data from that. So you need to show that to make it more concrete. So, for example, accounting software sees a steep decline in the use. So there's only 20% utility now, as opposed to what you had it 10 years ago. CRM, relationship management, shows a significant growth that is from 10% to 30%, leading the utility quotient, right? Then the payroll, shipment tracking, both of them, the growth has doubled for them from before, so almost touching 25%. Stock control, however, shows a very stable growth. So there's either it remains stable, there's neither like a steep growth or a steep decline, it remains somewhere around 10%, right? So when you're discussing whether that is a short report like this or a longer report, your discussion should have all of, if there is statistical data that you are drawing, if there's some chart or some figure that you're using, you need to interpret it this way. This is how you interpret. Evaluation and interpretation of findings is basically this. This is how it looks, right? Include all the data that you can gather from the reports you have, right? The charts or the figures or anything that you're using. And then conclusion, of course, software market has evolved, shows the evolution in the software market over a period of 10 years, which is moving from an accounting products, accounting based product, software product to a customer management service and logistics based software solutions. Yeah. So if your work has more or
Yeah,
less, yeah,
yeah, it's more or less same.
more or less the same, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So So if this is how you have compiled it, you're good to go. I am now seeing some of them. Some of you, what I have seen is that you have not included the discussion part properly, right? Your interpretations were right. Maybe you drew the conclusions, but you did not do the discussion, right? Findings were not discussed. You need to show this relationship, 25% growth from 10 to 30% growth, stability at 10%, okay, 20% steep decline, limited use, right? Basically, when you're making statements and if you have a graph, you need to supplement it using the data that you can get from the graph. That is what will make your discussion part complete. Okay. Okay. All right. So we will have to close it here. What I'll do is I'll change this to the student page so that you can access the other question as well. There's one more question in here, second question. But this you can take it as a home assignment and work on it on your own. Now that you have the structure, this is also a short report again. Longer reports, of course, we cannot take it up in classes of this nature. So you may work on this. It's about company policy practices, addition of two company policy practices, more like a recommendation report. So try practicing with this also. These are some of the basics in report writing. Okay, and people, those of you have missed the session from yesterday, I think maybe by the end of this week or so, the team will upload the sessions. You can find it in the playlist, separate YouTube playlist link, in the same calendar where you accessed the link to this class. But wait until the end of this week. They might take a bit of time to upload all the videos. Usually they upload all the videos of the week in one go. So maybe by Friday or maximum by Saturday, they might do it. Please wait for that, and you can access whatever we discussed about the language part of the report, right? Okay, that's all. I have a class at 4 again. So if you have any quick question, you may ask. If not, I would like to sign out.
Ma'am,
Thank
these
you, ma'am.
workshops are for practice only, na? And these assignments and all.
Yeah, yes, only practice.
No bonus
Ma'am,
marks or.
No.
these type of questions would be come in our end term.
No. This is not, we don't have a space for descriptive questions. We wish we could ask, but then the format of your exam doesn't permit us to ask you descriptive questions.
Okay.
Ma'am, in term syllabus week 1 to week 12 na?
Yes.
Ma'am, but most important weightage.
Most important weightage.
Yes, ma'am.
No, if it's week 1 to 12, all of them will have to carry equal weightage. Otherwise, we would have limited the syllabus, right? All of them will have equal weightage.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. See you guys. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you so much. See you again.